Okay. Hello, everyone. We have Fabrice Canol from Bing with us today, Tomek Rudzki from ZipTie, and myself from Monday.com. Today, we're going to go over some of the more complex, more geeky aspects of search engines. We'll do our best to keep it as digestible as possible. I promise we won't geek out too much, but I think this is quite interesting to talk about. First of all, Index Now, obviously, and I know that Fabrice has a few very exciting announcements to make. But also, we want to talk about some of the limitations, some of the problems you might be struggling with when you try to get on Bing. But before we begin, let's see how many people or who do we have in the audience. I'm trying to find my YouTube link. So if you're, yeah, say hi. Oh, hey Peter. We have Peter Nikolov. We have a few friendly faces. I think we can slowly begin. If someone is late, we'll try to do our best for them to catch up. But let's start easy with a little bit of warm up, Fabrice. I know it's early where you are, so we won't be going too hard on you. First of all, I wanted to ask something that I'm quite interested in, and I know that you probably heard this question a few times already. It's about Index Now. I wanted to ask you if what's the problem? Because I guess this is quite crucial. You're trying to solve with Index Now because you mentioned quite a few times it's about crawling. I'm, obviously I wouldn't be myself if I wouldn't wonder if it's not somehow partially about rendering as well. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that. Is it really about crawling only?
So, thank you. Hello, everybody. So this is a very excellent question. This is at the end is search engine have really very little clue about what's happening on the internet. They model the web, they do machine learning, they learn from coding, but really when you will post your next blog post, we don't really know. You know. So this is mean search engine as they don't know really, they will keep crawling to see if the content has been added, updated, or deleted. And we need to change this logic. We need to have you telling us what changed on the web. Why crawling for crawling all the time to discover if something has changed? This is not only about posting a new content. You may post and say, I did a typo, I did a spelling issue here or there, and I will change it. And you don't want to see this beautiful title with a typo and X in search engine. You want to change it. And search engine, again, don't really know when this content will be changed. So this scenario about when to call the content is something that you mean the community, the ecosystem, that this is website owner, content management system, CDN, and other system can help us to learn about what change. So this is a mutual benefit. We will learn when the content has changed. We will come to catch up the latest content, to download the latest content, and we will get it reflected, this change, in search engine. So we do believe that it's good for the industry to change this model. This will help you for sure to get the latest content index in search engine, helping us to minimize crawling, which is a good thing for the whole industry.
So it's only about crawling. It's not about rendering. Sorry to grill you so much about that, but this is something we all are wondering about. I've been at a conference recently, and this was the main topic. Like, is it really crawling only?
Yeah, that says again, good question. So at the end is what crawling try to solve. This is crawling. If you notify us, we can be really smarter about what to crawl on website. Again, there is a lot of this is a start of a journey. We will at the end maybe on some sites only crawl when you notify us. This is I want to go to the state. I want to learn when to crawl. What's the benefit for dynamic rendering? This is by learning when to crawl, you have uh, we have at the end a limited crawl budget, crawl quota per sites. And if we spend our time to crawl on what we call primary URL, primary content, then we don't have enough bandwidth for secondary URL such as JavaScript, Ajax calls to download additional content. And we see these issues obviously for large websites where search engines are challenged by rendering all the content due to limited crawl budget. So yes, this is at the end helping us to download and to render the content too, because by optimizing on crawl, we are freeing up capacity for Ajax calls and dynamic rendering of the whole content.
Oh, that clears up quite a lot. So one more thing I wanted to clarify, because you announced Index now as a joint venture of three, possibly four, as it was announced recently, search engines. But is it just the Index now basically giving those URLs to every single player, or do you have some kind of um, joint resources about crawling and rendering? Is it like at which point this cooperation ends? This is, I guess, something we're all curious about.
Yeah, good question. So this protocol is all about communicating URLs with one search engine, and the search engine will immediately routing notify all the other search engine of the content that has been of the URLs that have been submitted. So this is not about sharing the downloading content. This is just about notification of these URLs and crawling. Each search engine will have its own downloading and its own rendering logic. So we do not share, and there is no plan to share the content that is downloaded. Partially because there is different regulation, worldwide rules about what you can download, not download. The webmasters have their own protocol via robots text file to allow, disallow specific search engine. Sometimes they want to allow only specific search engine to some of the content. So we will continue to follow that. But in terms of URL, at least we will all the search engine will be smarter at knowing what to download on the internet.
That the thing about different regulations and different robots, to be honest, somehow I didn't think of it. So even though this is basically the definition of my job, so thanks for that. This cleared quite a lot. So last questions on this topic before the big announcement. I assume it's a big, like it's big for me. What you shared with us, Fabrice, but a little bit of a gossip. So, who was first to come up with this idea? Which of the players?
So in fact, it's an evolution of an old idea. So we, years ago, many years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, search engine come up with a ping mechanism to notify, to have websites notifying search engine about their updated content. This was a good solution, but extremely spammy and at the end useless. Mean that this was a lot of URLs, useless URL, lot of spam URLs. This was not bad. So Bing after that came up with this approach of trusted API where we request a key to get to have a website able to submit URL or URL plus content to Bing via a proprietary dedicated API. And we really benefited from that. And I say, okay, why we should come up with an industry standard solution to benefit all search engine, because it should not be Bing only. This is the community also was telling us, okay, that's great. I benefit at Bing. What about you do it for the whole industry? So we say, okay, we will come up with a good solution that is easy to adopt. Do not require a webmaster account. That is just something that people can easily do. That is a little bit more trusted than the ping. So as part of a notification, as part of a ping, you're adding your own key and you bring your own key. We verify that the key is hosted on the website to enable this trust, meaning that you cannot really spam another website. You own the URL and you tell us what changed on your site. And then this is collaborating with other search engine to think a little bit the protocol, and we disclose it, and now the industry is kind of adopting it.
So, and again, thanks so much, because that was this is something I was thinking about for quite a bit. I remember good old times of WordPress websites that would have those pinging services to ping search engines, and I was like, why can't you just use this old solution? And from what I'm hearing from you, is that it was basically quite spammy. So it was, I'm assuming, abused a little bit by people. We won't go into details, but so the API in the old form was basically a little bit more like prone to spam. Would that be correct?
Yeah, this is more. We develop a layer again, a security layer to trust the website coming, to trust the URLs coming. It's also a protocol that is easy to adopt by the whole industry. I mean, uh, an engineer can adopt it, can test it in minutes, and can adopt it in a day, type of thing. Then this is content management system can adopt. This is friendly for them because it does not require a Google Search Console, a Bing Webmaster Tool account. This is just you are bringing your own key, you just integrate with an API, easy to do. And then this is also open for CDN, content delivery network that are caching the content on the internet to adopt. So kind of a whole industry can adopt such solution. And this is something that we were already targeting, not to be site specific, but to be content management system open to all the whole industry to adopt.
So one last question from Tomek, and we can move to the announcement that I think will be exciting for all the nerds, SEO nerds out there. Tomek, I know you have one last question about this.
I have a question that I believe many SEOs would like to ask. So are sitemaps not enough for that purpose? I would say last modification date. So that this way you could crawl sitemaps quite frequently, and you see, okay, that URL has changed, so that the crawler can visit that URL.
Yeah, this is a very good question. So sitemap is a great way to tell search engine all the URLs listed on your site. It's the snapshot. In general, Bing will try to download sitemaps more or less once a day. We see sitemaps. This is often very big. This is a lot of URLs. Yeah, this is giving us a snapshot of all relevant URLs on the sites. That's great. But the internet is more than once a day. This is happening fast. You don't want to wait one day when you have a press release coming, and maybe we will be failing at downloading the sitemap, so it may be 2 days or something like that. So the internet, my teenagers want to get the things immediately. Now this is not about tomorrow. They want to get things done now. So this is complementary. So you have an XNO that is really about what's happening now. And if you miss the ping, if search engines are too busy doing something else, yes, at the end they will catch up with the sitemap. So first is notify the index now about added, updated, deleted content. And second is tell us via sitemaps. Additionally, sitemaps is great for listing content, but not so much on update and delete. One issue with update scenario, the last mod is really noisy. A lot of websites don't set it correctly. Set it when the sitemap is generated. Don't do that. Please set it to the time the content has been published or updated. Again.
So you said that the last modifications are usually very noisy. I can agree.
Noisy,
yeah. So starting from this point, if I use last mod correctly, will Bing trust the sitemap or not?
We are leveraging this as a hint about when the content may have changed. There is other things that we are looking at to detect if the content is changed. This is something that we continue working on to continue improve this whole logic of what we call crawl efficiency. This means avoid fetching content that do not change. We try to really minimize the number of useless crawl we do to please the community and to free up capacity, crawl capacity on URLs that truly matter, on URLs that have changed.
So one last question, Fabrice. I promise, but I just have to ask it. So you have initial chunk of data from Index Now. Is it less noisy than sitemaps? Because I can totally agree with you that sitemaps, especially most of the sitemaps we look into for the first time, are just really bad. They're just a very sad place in the internet, I assume. So is Index Now data better? That's something I'm extremely curious about.
So the good news of Index Now is that it's not new for Bing. It's something that we were having that was dedicated at the end integration with plenty of sites for years. So this is kind of the evolution of Bing URL submission API that we were having for Bing that was scaling to millions of URL on some sites per day. And so we know how good this is. Yes, this is very, very good. On some sites, we know that this is guiding us to latest content, helping us again to free capacity and to reflect within the search engine what the content is on the site. So this is extremely useful, and we see obviously with Index Now the same benefit of URLs that are coming that are really high quality. Some sites do mistakes. That's fine. We are able to detect that. If we see that we crawl and we continue crawling the same URL and the content is not modified, yes, our engineering stack can learn that and can say, okay, I will not trust more or less these URLs that are coming. So this is also the start. Yeah, this is also the start of a journey, and we will again, as we go, improve on machine learning and stack to better handle this the whole flow of millions of sites that are coming to tell us what changed on the internet. Yeah.
Just want to clarify something before it becomes a long Twitter thread. So if I'm going to be pushing my URLs constantly to Index Now, even though they didn't change, at some point you're going to say, okay, this website, let's say onely.com, is really not getting this concept properly, and you might ignore those pushes, right?
This is
correct?
Obviously, yes, if you don't follow the rules and do useless things, then we may not come up to crawl this content. So please do the right things. Please publish on ads and update and delete. We are understanding that site can do mistakes. So example of things that will happen in January 1st, the copyright of each and every page on the internet will change from 2021 to 2022. And yes, more likely on January 1st, as we see previous years, we will have a spike of URL submitted. So this is fine. We are able to understand that and understand that, yeah, this is a meaningful change, but it's okay. So at the end is think about, yes, we are avoid just slamming us every 5 minutes of all the URLs on the site. It's totally useless. Yeah.
Okay. So Fabrice, the stage is yours. I know you have a little bit of announcement. So what is it?
Yes.
Can you tell us what's new at what is the new announcement with Index Now?
So the strategy is again to have Index Now, having the whole industry adopting it to benefit all search engine. So one strategy is again websites, top sites, mean large websites, small websites to adopt the Index Now. One strategy is content management system, because we fully understand that a lot of webmasters are not SEO friendly, don't know about all these things that we are talking about today. And so by integrating within content management system as WordPress and others, this is telling us for them automatically what changed on the internet. This is a great thing to do for the whole industry to have content management system adopting. The next bucket is really about CDN. Content Delivery Network. This is layers of the internet that are caching the content on behalf of websites to avoid internet user or search engine to go directly to the website. This is a cache layer to minimize cost on the internet. So what we announced today, this is the fact that Cloudflare is supporting Index Now. And we just launched a blog post to highlight some numbers of adoption. So this is more than 60K websites have already turned on this ability in Cloudflare to support the Nextno, which is big. This is at the end billions of URL per day that are coming to tell us what changed on the internet. So this is pretty
This is
amazing.
huge.
We are pretty happy. And so this is we being benefit, Yandex benefit, and other search engines that are coming will benefit too by such integration. So thanks Cloudflare
That's
for supporting
huge,
Nextno.
Fabrice. So do we need to do first of all, the link to the announcement will be in the chat for all of you who want to read about that. So my first question, I didn't read the article yet. Do I need to do something? Well, actually, I think we're using Cloudflare. Do I need to set something up, or is it happening automatically? I'm assuming I need a key. So, right?
The key is Cloudflare generated for you automatically via as part of this integration.
Cool.
So this is really about you go to Cloudflare console and you turn on this ability to notify search engine about as part of a feature called Crawl Hint at Cloudflare. So read the blog post. We will post the link. And as part of this, this is easy as you have no code to do. This is you go to the console and you turn on the flag, you are done. You are integrated with the Nextno. So this is a great thing to do. Again, helping
That's
us
amazing.
to discover what changed on sites when you are caching content within Cloudflare. They notify search engine automatically.
That's amazing. That's going to make even our life so much easier. And just a quick side note here, and maybe a little bit of a question, because we used Index now. We actually have indexnow.com, as you probably saw, for submissions of the URLs. We used it for onely.com. Within a few days, we started seeing a decent spike of traffic from Bing. And I read online that few other people using Index Now, either through indexnow.com or through the API, had similar results. What does it mean? Does it mean like our website wasn't indexed before, or is it like? Can you elaborate? Like, I know this is happening for a lot of users, so I was wondering if you can shed a little bit of light on this phenomenon.
So clearly, we are not prioritizing based on an Nextno. It's not a ranking signal. It's not because you are an Nextno enabled website that you should be rank higher. I should say that to drive adoption, but I will not tell that. This is not simply true. But on the internet these days, what we see is, I don't know if this is the case for your website, this is a lot of website that is targeting the latest thing, the latest news, the latest information. And you need to be first. You need to be in the first to be at the top of links clicks. So there is a lot of content that is happening on the internet. Every second count there. And if you are 1 hour late, because we may be late, oh yes, you won't be in the top position of Bing and people won't find you. So you are kind of already behind. So this is important to be first indexed, to be quickly indexed whenever where you have competitive market product shopping, anything. So it's all about being first, being indexed. I truly believe this is what matters this day. And so yes, Indexnow is a way to tell search engine what's happening right now on the internet, and so helping us to get the content index. So it may be one of the, I don't know your exact bucket of sites, content, but it may be one of the main things. And we see this for a lot of sites. Yes.
So just to be completely frank with you, Fabrice, we saw a few posts when preparing for this webinar on a number of SEO groups on Facebook, probably on Twitter as well. I'm not sure about the Twitter thing, but I remember a few conversations on Facebook when they ended up with, I'm seeing a decent traffic from Bing, I might look into optimizing for Bing, which I'm assuming was a shift of how people look at SEO. So before we move forward, is there something, this came to me right now, is there a difference in how we should be doing technical SEO or SEO in general for Bing versus for Google and other search engines?
Yeah, so yes and no. I mean, at the end is all search engines are communicating often kind of the same. This is all the same thing that we are doing. We are, step number one, discovering URLs on the internet. So with AnnexNow, you have an easy way to help us to discover real-time this content. Yes, sitemaps can help. Yes, your content need to have links to navigate to your content, but it's basically what you should do. Second is to be selected. So mean that you need to be not a spam site, you need to have good quality content, something that matter. And yes, more likely you will be selected by Bing and other search engine to be selected. Selected mean, oh, the URLs are going to the crawler. The URL will be fetched. So then this is fetching. Fetching, I told you the best thing you have to do is to adopt AnnexNow because we will really prioritize this URL versus other URLs because we do believe that you know more than us what change on the internet. So this is clearly helping us to get the content. Obviously, you should not robot disallow us. You should avoid crawl delay and things that are preventing us to get the content. Then this is about processing the content. So processing the content, this is please do in general HTML, basic HTML, it helps. As soon as you will go crazy in JavaScript, yes, we may have issues with that. All search engines have issues when there is too much AJAX calls on the page to download the content. So the more standard you are, the more successful you will be in all search engines. Think that all search engines these days are not really doing basic heuristic. They are doing machine learning. Machine learning is all about matching some kind of judgment guidelines things that is established. We establish this based on the whole internet. The whole internet means the more standard you are, the more you will be matching this kind of golden set perfect URLs we care about. So as soon as you do crazy things, yeah, this may go soft. As soon as you are doing really the standard SEO things to have good quality title, description, meta properties, HTML5, yeah, you will be successful, not only at Bing, but all search engine. And think AnnexNow as a complementary thing that is really helping us to get the content index. All of what I said is recap in the Bing Webmaster Guidelines, so Search Online, Bing Webmaster Guidelines. We spent time to write this long one-page article with a lot of information in it. Please have a look, and this is a good summary of what I said.
I have a follow-up question with being the first. So you said that when you are the first, you get the ranking benefits, right?
Now this is, think about breaking news, think about events. So let's take the example of news segment. Unfortunately, some bad things may happen in the world with the new virus thing. Okay, good. People will search on this, and this will be, if you are put at top position, because you will be the first to speak about that, what will happen is that search engine will discover that, will put it at top position, and people will start to link to this content. And so you get immediately the link boost benefit, the view benefit, everything benefit. And the people that are speaking about the new virus things 5 days behind, yeah, says, who care about that? It's 5 days behind. So they may have, if you repeat what is said 3 days ago, who care about that? You may have some unique content that is valuable, and then people then rush to this and will find it because you have some breaking news about this new thing. So it's all about, at the end, trying to be in top position to have people caring about your thing. Yeah.
Well, and what about e-commerce stores and being the first who publish a product? So does it refer the same?
Yeah, obviously, new things, this is unique things. You may sell unique product things that are not found elsewhere, and here also you will benefit from that. Price is, or you may sell the same product. What's matter then is obviously the price and the reviews and everything you can put attached to your page to have it make it more useful. Because maybe you will match then not on the common keyword, but maybe on keyword plus some extra field, and then you will extra queries, and then you will be able to retrieve this content.
Okay.
So, thanks so much for all this, Fabrice. You have quite a pace of answering those questions, I must admit. You're very dynamic with that. So I'm learning so much, but the pace is a little bit higher than my ability to remember all that, so I'm taking notes. But one thing that gets me thinking, something we're seeing when analyzing Bing versus Google, because we have quite a lot of clients where we work in usually on indexing, rendering issues. And one thing that you're actually so much better at, and this is something I wanted to ask if this is a coincidence of our sample, is that you are more eager to render. So with Google, sometimes they're gonna crawl, but they won't render. In our experiments and research, we're seeing that Bing is much more eager to start rendering content after visiting the URL. Would that be something that's somehow correct? Is it something you can shed a little bit of more light onto?
Yeah, so we do believe that the end state is to have all the content dynamically rendered. And one strategy, again, to get there is if you can help by adopting an XNO, then this is freeing up capacity to help us to dynamically render all content on the internet. So we will get there. We will get to a state where, except obviously PDF and static content, we will render all the content on the internet. This is clearly a direction we are headed, because rendering content truly helps search engine to have a better understanding of web pages, understanding to differentiate what we call the primary content of a page from the secondary content, the left navigation, the footer, the things that is useful for links discovery, but the primary content of a page is what people care about when they search. So this is just an example of where rendering truly help us to better understand each and every page. So this is true that we try to render a lot of content these days. The benefit of Bing is that, again, this kind of shared collaboration between often companies and engine. Bing is using the same technology than Google today to render the internet. It says we are all based on the Chromium code base to render. We are leveraging Microsoft Edge based on Chromium to really render the whole page on the internet, and layers of optimization that we made within Microsoft Edge to render each and every page on the internet.
In terms of statistics, when you crawl 1,000 of pages, how many of them will be rendered so that you can see the content generated by JavaScript?
Yeah, so obviously, if the content has is a dead link, no need to really render the content. Sometimes it's maybe useful for a custom 404, but let's say this is completely geek comment, and yes, more likely we will not render the content. If it says a redirect, again, no need. If it says a PDF, no need. If it says a text
So
file,
yeah,
again, no need. Yes, so for HTML, we try to go to 100% of the content render. I will not disclose the percentage today, but again, this is the end state is to be able to render
it's more or
all
less
the content.
10 or 90. So
I cannot reply. Again, this is for most relevant content, it will be near 100%. This is what I can say.
Mm-hmm. But also I know that it's related to crawl budget, so it's also about a crawl quota that the website has, and free resources on Bing site, right? So this is a factor of this too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to make sure that obviously you give us access to the content. You need to, often there is two types of dynamic rendering. One type is about, I've got just to collect the JavaScript and CSS, and maybe this is the same than on other pages. Certainly I'm already cache this content. And so at the end is, I don't need to do additional calls. I've got already the JavaScript and CSS. So this is no need to have crawl budget thing. This is only specific to Bing. You render the page, you have access to all the secondary URL. You just render the page, you are done. So this is things that is make it easy because it's not impacting the crawl budget. Sometimes, yeah, this is doing Ajax calls, and often more than one. We see sites that are completely, this is ridiculous, crazy. This says you have 20, 30 HTTP call per day. What are you doing? It's not only not good for search engine, it's also not good for your customer visiting the site. Oh yeah, the site is really active and dynamic, but really you should not do that. So this is cases where obviously we will be impacted by crawl budget to avoid DOS attacking the site with a lot of HTTP requests every every time we render a page.
So just thank you for that, Fabrice. I was wondering about something, and if I'm pushing any technical boundaries of the NDAs, I'm sorry, but Google is very difficult for us to answer the question of at which point it's too much JavaScript, for example, because you know yourself, there are some of the client-side rendered websites that are just so heavy and so complex that it's just not only Bing, but all the search engines wouldn't index now. Wouldn't index them, obviously, and render. So I was wondering if maybe you can give us a little bit of guidelines. So at which point, because I'm assuming there will be some webmasters watching that, at which point that JavaScript is just too much. Is there any benchmark they could do, like where you would say, okay, this is most likely where we won't pick it up?
I will say that it depends on the site of a site. If you have one really popular one page or few pages website, yeah, search engine will do okay. If you have a shopping site with 1 million products and a lot of JavaScript on each and every page, you won't be successful at what we call the tail content. These pages that are not really linked, visited once a while, things like that. Yes, search engine will be able to render the top pages, but as soon as you go down, yeah, this is not going there, going nowhere. And so please think about kind of the size of a site you have. If you have few pages, it's okay to do JavaScript only. If you have a big library of content, you will be really more successful if you dynamically not doing JavaScript this day and render HTML for all your pages for search engine. So we call that dynamic serving. You detect the user agent or the IPs of search engine, and then you render specific content for search engine. By the way, both Bing and Google disclose their IP ranges, so you can detect on user agent or detect based on IPs. Make sure to not hard code your IP ranges because search engines are changing the IP ranges once a while. So we have communicated that as a JSON format. We adopted the same as Google. So please use the JSON format and parse it and download it, let's say once a day to make sure that you have all the latest IP addresses from all search engines.
Thank you so much, Fabrice. That was actually very helpful. I'm very happy you said that. Just one tiny note for any webmasters ever watching that: if possible, don't use dynamic rendering. Use server-side rendering for SEO purposes because it's gonna work with Bing and Google, but maintaining that to work well is just very complex and it's difficult to find dynamic rendering just really properly done. Do we have any questions from the audience, Ziemek? Oh, okay, amazing. Are there any other major collaborations we should see happen in the future between the major search engines? Oh, that's interesting. So, Fabrice, is there anything oh, this is your, so is there anything else you're planning apart from Index Now? Any other joint ventures between Bing, Baidu, Yandex, possibly Google as well?
So we have collaborated in the past for robots exclusion protocol. This is in 2008. We joined forces together to have a standard format between handling of this robots exclusion thing, because else doesn't make any sense. I mean that you have different protocol per sites and hard to understand. So we are collaborating on schema.org. And so we will, there is Index Now, sitemaps. This is area where we need to collaborate because if each search engine communicate differently to webmasters, again, to answer your initial question about what to do specifically for Bing, I feel, yeah, we should avoid doing this. We should avoid optimizing for Google or Bing. We should do common things because, again, my quote and story on machine learning, as soon as you do standard things, you will be successful everywhere. Because Bing do machine learning, Google, Yandex, everybody do machine learning. And machine learning is all about being standard, being great at standardized things because it's helping you will be part of a good quality URLs, models that people have in search engine. So please, again, do standardize things. It's helping you to be successful. Avoid the new things over there. You don't know if search engine will be able to understand that. Common things make sense.
Amazing, amazing. We have one more question. Is 400K URLs a large domain? I would shorten that this way.
Yeah, so it depends of the site and interest for Bing. If it says a top sites on the internet, mean in terms of visit, people are interested with the sites. 400K is peanuts. It's nothing. It's really we will get everything indexed. We will try to index everything. It's good quality content. People search for this. Okay, let's go for it. If it says once again a new website that is listing all the shops in the area, all the phone numbers in the world, all the addresses, whatever. It's very so many of such sites. It's totally kind of useless. Yes, you will get maybe 20 visits by Bing, but really we will not spend our budget. We are on indexing such content. So yes, you will not see this Bing bot maybe visiting your site, and you may not see other search engine visiting your site. It's all about at the end making satisfying Bing customer, as I'm pretty sure that other search engine is all about satisfying their customer. So we are not there to index the whole internet. The whole internet is infinite in size. There is a lot of content that is totally useless on the internet, that is just a duplicate of the other content. So many product review sites on the internet that is just cloning to get some affiliate links, clicks going to top shopping websites. No, it says we are not interested by that. We are just interested by satisfying our customer.
So would it be correct to summarize that in a way that if we're looking at the size of the website, we should always compare that with the traffic? So if you have 10 URLs and 1,000 visits per month, let's say that's fine. But if you have 1 million URLs and 1,000 visits per month, then it's not okay anymore because you're indexing so much content that no one is searching for. So would that be more or less the summary?
Yeah, but there is a different dimension there, meaning that if you are very targeted content specific to a niche audience, that's maybe very good content. So you may have 10 pages, 10K pages, and we will index everything because we find that a set of users is really loving this content, enjoy this content, and we want to know everything about this content because we think it's good for our customer. But again, the scenario of you clone other website, you have useless content that at the end nobody really care about because they can find the same content or the same reviews on more quality sites. Yeah, more likely search engine will not be going friendly with you because they don't care so much. The customer, Bing customer, don't care. So everything, think also their website matter. They spend time to create the website, to generate it, and they think it's great. But again, think about really if you are a customer yourself, are you happy to find this kind of random website, or do you prefer to go to a quality website that has the same content? You know, you prefer certainly to go to a quality website that has your same content.
So to summarize, it's about matching your content with a unique intent. It doesn't have to be thousands of visits, but it has to be unique and valuable for at least a bunch of people. Yep. Okay, thank you so much for that. That helps a lot, Fabrice. Tomek, I know you wanted to ask something as well.
I have a question about crawling. So both Bing and Google claim that they cannot crawl the whole web, which is understandable. But for me, when you decide which URLs you want to crawl, you have to do some kind of pre-selecting URLs to be crawled. So how does it work?
So good question. So size of the internet, infinity. Really infinity. It says I can crawl forever. I will every day I discover 70 billion new URLs that I'd never seen before. And I do URL dedupe, normalization, all these things. So you have pages with calendars where you can click next to the next day, next day, next day, next day. You will scroll forever until year 99999. You go back in the past. Okay, infinite number of links on the internet. You can go forever. You won't find everything. Yes, so when we discover all these links, we are discovering and expanding the frontier every day and throttling to avoid being unlimited. We have to select what we care about. So here, this is where we use heuristics, machine learning, all of math to be able to discover what matters on the internet. So if you have a good quality site and we see new URLs, more likely we will try to see what they are all about, and we will at least fetch them to discover if first they are interesting, second if they are linking to new URLs that are interesting. So we keep expanding the frontier and still refreshing existing pages to try to get the latest content on existing content. So this is where, again, Andexno sitemaps is really helping us to get all URLs. Sitemaps on one day, one time, we get the full scan of the site. Thank you. Andexno, real time, we get all the URLs added, updated, deleted on the site. Thank you. And so this is just things that is really helping us to discover and to guide us to what matters on the internet.
From the
Amazing.
Thank you very much. From the search engine perspective, I would say it's more important to crawl more popular websites because it's what more people want. But what about good quality but less popular websites? Are they having the same probability of being crawled, indexed, and ranking? Okay, maybe ranking is a separate part, but crawled and indexed?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and again, this is things where you can help. Clearly, search engine will know their top websites that they care about, and yes, we'll make sure that this content is indexed, or they try to reach the internet, the top of the thing. Then there is a lot of content, lot of websites, millions and millions and millions of websites where we don't really know. we may learn by crawling. We see a lot of duplicate content, lot of useless content, and we say, okay, useless, go for it, and some content that is more useful. So this is where the initial hint about, telling us what changed, what is new on the sites may help us, guide us to quality content. So again, this is, think about the challenge we have of each and every site is unique. You may create a new domain and registering your new domain and not posting anything for days, for weeks. And then you post something. Will we be aware of this new domain, of a change? Maybe not. So Andexno, things like this really help us to go to the deep content on these sites quickly and discover the new content. Be guided, help us. Yes, we are fully leveraging Andexno to be knowing about what's happening on the sites. And so this is clearly helping us to discover new things and new quality content.
One last question from me. I believe that it's best to share my screen.
As they say, what can go wrong, Tomek?
Okay. Yeah, it's a raw presentation, but I found interesting comment by how you understand international websites. So I found so you can figure out the language from the website itself, and there is interesting parts about that you can get it from who is visiting your websites. And the question that comes to my mind is, do you use Edge for that or not?
hreflang, you mean? Or?
I mean,
I guess what Tomek is trying to say, because you said that you're using some, as we understand, that user signals to figure out which language the website is using. So is it similar to like Chrome user experience with Chrome, where they use user data to measure web performance? So are you using the Edge data or user data to improve search?
So there is information we can collect on the internet about links, following links to discover what's the destination content is all about. If you have a website that is, let's say, a Japanese website, linking to another website, and we see always links from Japan, yeah, more likely the destination will be a Japanese language. So we can learn these languages from crawling the internet and discovering what is the source link to the destination link. So this is helping to propagate the language to the destination where we don't really know yet the destination language of the page. Same apply potentially to what we call market or region or country, where you can assess, you can speculate, you can think about what is the destination content without crawling the content. So you may learn from crawling without crawling. So you learn about the destination content without crawling it, and this is things that we are looking at Bing. There is something that I want to collaborate to come back to a previous question on with other search engine. This is the hreflang, and this is this market URLs. This is something that I truly believe we should fix. We see too many URLs, trillions of URLs, trillions with a T, of URLs that should not exist on the internet, and that they are created just due to hreflang with the country and market that is set, where the content, destination content is absolutely the same. So I think the right model is to go back for, especially for large library of content, to a more Wikipedia model, where for large library of content, the content is more per language and avoid having URLs per market.
I love it. I love it, Fabrice, because even though hreflang is working and is a decent solution, I often wonder myself about the outcome, the cost of basically duplicating the pages. So rendering. I'm assuming this might be a massive pain for you. And with that being said, sorry. Sorry.
Just to follow up on this idea, we don't see really a lot of value, meaning that there is very limited thing as algorithms. There is no really links coming to these pages that are really low visit. Nobody is going to there. So at the end, it will be preferable to have only one page where you consolidate and you get all the traffic, and potentially having some marketization of a page, means some branding to say this is New Zealand, Australia, US, and avoid having all this duplicated content that is happening this day on the internet. Yeah.
I totally get that. We remember having a problem opening a sitemap that was, I would assume, like 200 gigabytes or something like that. So I remember, if I remember, I can imagine that this is a huge pain for you. But just to wrap things up, I have a philosophical question of sorts, because we know, as technical SEOs, we're seeing rendering as one of the biggest challenges right now for both search engines, mobile devices, like basically for the World Wide Web. We're seeing rendering as one of the biggest challenges, and everyone is looking for a way to overcome that. Google, we believe, is in a tiny bit of denial of this problem because they won't openly admit to rendering being a problem for them. You, on the other hand, I like that you're very open about that being a challenge, looking for solutions with Index Now and so on. But how would you see this problem, this challenge moving forward? Because you're so close to the core of this problem, and with Index Now, I can see that you're trying to solve it somehow. Now, I would really love to hear your opinion about what's the future? How can we go through this speed bump, let's call it that, of the World Wide Web?
Yeah, so all search engines have issues. I think Google has also disclosed a little bit, look at the dynamic crawl page, dynamic serving page, and highlight that they recommend this technique, especially for, again, large websites, to crawl, to render the content. So I think it's a two or three angles. Yes, search engine will continue to improve to optimize the rendering logic, optimize the machine learning. This is improving at a pace that is incredible. This is we are smarter and smarter every day. The algo, the research behind the algos is continuously improving. Many of that is open source, so everybody can benefit. Some is proprietary. But yeah, this is, we need to be in the state where we can render technically each and every page. It will cost less in terms of resource for search engine to render each and every page. As we said, to recap, you can really help to guide us to the content that is changed to free up capacity thing. So we should be in few years hopefully be able to render all the content on the internet without any issue. Just avoid again craziness things. If customer have to click things in the page to access the content, yeah, search engine maybe will not click the thing because they may not be as smart than a customer anytime soon. So at the end, it's all about you need to go to an URL, and when you go to this URL, the content need to be displayed within the page, need to be visible. It should not be hidden. All these things at the end matter. So I think, again, unfortunately, there is limitation today in today's world, and you need to overcome that by, again, helping search engine to be successful via SEO expert as you, or by following really deeply the guidelines, especially on large websites, as I explained. On few pages website, okay, search engine should be okay, or please tell me and we will have a look. But else on large website makes sense. We don't have limited resources, crawl budget and so on. So please help us to be successful on your site.
Thank you so much. One thing that stood out for me quite a bit. You mentioned 4 years, right? Did they get it right? That in 4 years this problem should be with the technology you're having. I'm assuming it's an estimate, but I was just.
I think it's pretty close, and clearly I think I follow the trends. I know the numbers of pages and pages we don't, and so on. Cannot disclose anything there, but I feel that within it's not a question of 20 years, but again, it's the prerequisite is that you kind of follow a little bit of guidelines. You don't be crazy in doing, as we said before, 10 Ajax calls per page. Again, don't do that. We won't be successful at that ever. Be reasonable. Again, if it's just one call, we get the content, and we can render maybe via another Ajax call to get the content. Yeah, this is okay. This is we will be able to render all these pages.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fabrice. This is I think we have so much data from what you said. It was extremely useful. So on behalf of the whole technical SEO crowd, thank you so much, and thanks for always being so open and willing to help. I guess this really is something that helps us improve. So we will do our best to help those websites improve, especially with JavaScript and rendering. Thank you so much, Fabrice.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and please look at adopting Index Now. You will benefit at Bing and other search engines.
I just wanted to brag. We already switched this on. I just got a message on Slack. So our Cloudflare is already working with Index Now, which is amazing. That's such a helpful solution. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you, Tomek, for your time, for your effort. Thanks for everyone tuning in. We have so much data from this too. We'll probably turn it into articles about some of the things that Fabrice mentioned. Thank you so much, Fabrice. Enjoy your morning, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.